All right, I am not going to spend the next 4 years talking about polling. I promise you I'm not. I haven't spoken about polling for weeks. I am going to tell you today that we have a baseline for 2028 polling. So we won't talk about it for months, if not years. Okay, I'm promising you. But we have a baseline to compare to when the 2028 primary actually starts. We have two new polls, and Kamala Harris is crushing both of them. This is making a lot of people very upset, and it's making some people very happy. In a morning consult poll, Kamala Harris currently has 42% support to be the party's nominee in 2028. Kamala Harris should be the nominee in 2028, according to 42% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents. Pete Buttigieg is in second place at 9%. Gavin Newsom, California governor, at 8%. That's not the only poll looking at 2028 for Democrats. We have another poll from Echelon, which finds similar but not identical numbers. This one has Kamala Harris at 41%. Gavin Newsom in second place at 8%. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro at 7%. And then Pete Buttigieg and Tim Walz with 6% each. Now, before I give you any thoughts, 4 years out, or 2.5 years out from the start of the primary, this polling is more about name recognition than about anything else. That all being said, my opinion today, and it could change, but as I sit here today in late November 2024, my opinion is that we are better off without the same person at the top of the ticket. Now, I understand that running in the primary, losing, and then running again can work. Biden did it. Biden previously lost a primary, won a primary, ultimately became president. Losing the general and running again is a different thing. Now, the one example in modern political history that people often look at is that Richard Nixon lost to John F. Kennedy in 1960 and then ultimately won the primary and the presidency in 1968. So we do have that example. Didn't end well for Nixon, as we know, but that didn't have to do with having lost the election in 1960. But if you want examples before that, you have to go to the 1800s. I don't think that if we're talking about 2024, things that happened electorally in the 1800s are good instructors, because so much was different about the country then, population distribution, everything was completely different. So really we have like this one relatively modern example. And even that at this point is 70 to 80-year-old example. My bigger takeaway is, with such a deep bench, it doesn't seem necessary to run someone that already lost a general election. With J.D. Vance, by the way, polling at the top of the Republican 2028 primary ticket, it doesn't seem to me that a rematch of Harris-Trump, Harris-Vance, a pseudo rematch, we can call it, I don't see it as going that well. The one caveat would be, if the next 4 years go so terribly, if the next 4 years everything just craters, and I don't mean a little bit, I mean undeniably so, that Republican voters know that this has been an absolute and total disaster. We're not voting for Vance, but if they make him the nominee anyway, maybe in that situation, it ends up being just a referendum on the people in power, and Harris or whoever could win, much like I think a lot of candidates would have defeated Harris. It wasn't just Trump. So I'm not going to plague you for 4 years now with Democratic primary polling, but I did want to tell you where we are today. And it's not crazy to say none of this even matters, because at this point, it is merely name recognition. The holiday season is here, and it's time to start baking delicious homemade favorites with family and friends. And our sponsor, Wild Grain, makes you look like a baking expert without the stress. This holiday, treat yourself and your loved ones to fresh baked goods. Wild Grain has incredible new fall and winter pastries, but don't wait, because once they sell out, they are gone for the year. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. And my favorite, the croissants. Every time I talk about it, people write to me, David, croissants. I say, yes, I'm from Argentina. Of course, the croissants. Wild Grains boxes are fully customizable to your taste and dietary restrictions. And in addition to their classic variety box, they launched a gluten-free box and a plant-based box. What Wild Grain really does, it just takes the hassle out of baking because all of the items bake from frozen in 25 minutes or less. No mess, no cleanup. My favorites are the croissants, okay? There's nothing wrong with any of the products, but the croissants, they come in frozen, you bake them, the quality and the freshness, it's just fantastic. Impress your guests with minimal effort this holiday season. Wild Grain is offering my audience $30 off your first box, plus a free item in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/Pacman. The link is in the description.